In the headlines tonight, Ethiopia calls Sudanese rivals to declare immediate ceasefire to halt the fighting. Turkey ambassador says his country is committed to deepen ties with Ethiopia. Good evening to you all. A very warm welcome to ETV News. I'm Grum Tariku. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed called Sudanese warring factions to declare unconditional and undefined ceasefire for humanitarian assistance. The Premier underlined that all peace efforts by various actors must be aligned with IGAD and AU existing initiatives. Gosha Melisau has the details.
Sudan's 7 neighboring countries met in Cairo to establish a mechanism and end the ongoing bloody conflict in Sudan. The leaders of Ethiopia, Eritrea, Libya, Chad, the Central African Republic, and South Sudan agreed on the need to facilitate humanitarian aid and devise practical solutions to halt the fighting. Speaking on the summit, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said the conflict in Sudan persists due to lack of foresight between rival parties, despite there are platforms for dialogue.
We now witness intense violent conflict that is causing mass displacement, loss of lives, and widespread destruction. It is not for lack of platforms and avenues of dialogue that this conflict persists, but for lack of foresight. My wish is to see a cogent authority at this moment in the sisterly nation of the Sudan.
Abiy spoke out, unless the conflict in Sudan is not diffused, the situation will devastate the neighboring regions and result in humanitarian catastrophe.
We must not allow the violence to continue in a state of perpetuity as this crisis no more remains contained within the borders of the country. The destabilizing effect of the Sudan crisis is being felt in neighboring countries, faced with waves of refugees fleeing the conflict. The Horn of Africa and the Sahel region will suffer greatly if the parties to the conflict continue to avoid existing mechanisms that have laid out a clear path for diffusing the violent conflict.
Commending Egypt for convening the summit and Saudi Arabia and US for their efforts to make peace in Sudan, Abiy underlined any peace initiatives by actors must be aligned with IGAD and AU.
I would like to underline that such processes, including today's summit, need to align with the IGAD-led and African Union-supported existing initiative. The IGAD initiative has laid out potential pathways, and it's imperative for stakeholders to provide the necessary reinforcement. Excellencies, complex and sensitive cases like the Sudan crisis can only be successful through a consolidated approach. As neighboring countries working to overcome our own internal challenges, we should not be passive to impart wisdom to our sisterly nation.
Prime Minister Abiy reiterated Sudanese warring factions to declare unconditional and indefinite ceasefire for humanitarian assistance.
Ethiopia once again calls for, firstly, an unconditional and indefinite ceasefire. Secondly, immediate delivery of humanitarian assistance to all beneficiaries affected by the violent conflict. Thirdly, continuation of dialogue for peace and stability by the Sudanese political forces. And fourthly, development of a transitional arrangement for comprehensive peace to manifest in the Sudan. As part of the IGAD Quartet, Ethiopia stands ready in support of an immediate resolution for the Sudan crisis. crisis.
The summit in Cairo concluded yesterday with a strong appeal to the Sudanese armed forces and rapid support forces to immediately cease the war and engage in inclusive dialogue without external interference.
Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs Demeke Mekonnen held talks with various foreign affairs ministers of African countries. The Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister met with South Sudanese, Morocco's and Chad's foreign ministers on the sidelines of the 43rd Ordinary Session of the Executive Council of the African Union taking place in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. Accordingly, Demeke briefed South Africa's Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Naledi Pandor, about the implementation of the Pretoria Peace Agreement that ended the conflict in northern Ethiopia. He also stated that Ethiopia is interested in further strengthening its diplomatic relations with South Africa by reviving the activities of the Joint Ministerial Commission of the two countries. The South African Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Naledi Pandor, said on her part, South Africa is committed to Ethiopia in its implementation effort to achieve lasting peace. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Morocco, Nasser Bourita, stated that Morocco gives a special place to Ethiopia and is interested to work in cooperation in the sphere of agriculture and education. In addition, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Demeke consulted with Chad's Foreign Minister Mohamed Salah Anadif on bilateral and regional issues. Turkey has always been committed to solidifying the long-standing bilateral ties with Ethiopia in various areas. Talking to ETV English, Turkey ambassador to Ethiopia, Barak Baran, said the Turkey government is desirous to boost economic cooperation with Ethiopia into a higher level.
The socio-economic partnership between Ethiopia and Turkey is exemplary to other African countries, and it is growing steadily over the past decades. Talking to TV English, Turkey ambassador to Ethiopia, Berk Baran, stresses that his government is always committed to boost the long-standing bilateral cooperation with Ethiopia.
We are enjoying the 128th anniversary of our diplomatic relations this year. Our first embassy in sub-Saharan Africa was established in Addis Ababa back in 1927. And well before that even, our Consulate General was established in 1912 in Harar. With the Harar region, I have to say that we have very special relations, historical relations, cultural relations. So Harar has a special place in the Turkish-Ethiopian relations.
According to the ambassador, Turkey believes Ethiopia is the gateway of Africa, and Turkish company is trying to their level best to scale up investment in Ethiopia.
Ethiopia lies at the heart of our Africa policies. And our target is to enhance cooperation in every field possible. Turkish foreign direct investment is among the five largest countries. Our trade volume is around $320 million as of 2022. But of course, potential is much bigger. Our target is $1 billion.
In connection with the recent earthquake in Turkey, Baran underlined that Ethiopia is the closest friend of Turkey, not only in good times, but also in naughty situations.
Ethiopia did not fall behind. The Ethiopian government kindly sent a search and rescue team, and the general heading that team was rewarded by our president in a special ceremony. People from all around Africa contributed in kind, or even financially. And as I said, this should be the result of our humanitarian diplomacy in this continent.
The ambassador further highlighted the commitment of the Turkey government aligned with Ethiopia to bring peace and stability in the continent.
When they want to come.
Welcome back in. You are watching ETV News. Indian industry manager Bhavesh Chandaria said that Ethiopia's Green Legacy Initiative is a good response to the worrying global climate change and will also help the country to ensure its food security. The general manager of Ethiopian Steel PLC, who relates his genuine love to Ethiopia back to the acquaintance of his relative and Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia in London, has rich experience about Africa, where he has been working for many years. According to him, Green Legacy Initiative is a very generous job to our planet and laudable. Therefore, Ethiopia's initiative is an exemplary move for green resilient growth, Chandaria underscored. In Ethiopia, 25 billion tree seedlings have been planted during a span of 4 years through Green Legacy Initiative, which is rooted in a vision of building a green climate resilient Ethiopia. The country is also going to plant another 25 billion tree seedlings in the second phase of Green Legacy Initiative launched last month by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed following the successful implementation of the first phase. Chandaria urged Ethiopia of the planting of fruit trees and vegetables through its massive campaign. The Ministry of Planning and Development stated that Ethiopia has gained credible success through policies and strategies it implemented to respond to the impact of climate change. The ministry held a panel discussion on the launch of the 2023 Green Legacy Program and its contribution to economic development by coping with impacts of climate change. In order to respond to the impacts of climate change, various activities have been carried out by formulating policies, strategies, long-term plans and organizing institutions, said Trumar Abata, State Minister of Planning and Development. The State Minister underscored that Ethiopia's recent climate actions have brought credible success. Besides planting 25 billion trees in the last 5 years under the Green Legacy Initiative, she said that efforts are being made to expand the initiative to neighboring countries. Trumar also stated that the country is working with international organizations to promote the Green Legacy Initiative experience in global fora.
Welcome to the land of origins. Commercial Bank of Ethiopia is pleased to serve all your traveler banking needs. If you have money from any of these 16 countries, you can convert it to local currency by visiting our nearest branch. Alternatively, our secure Forex ATMs accept cash exchange, or if you prefer using your cards, we've partnered with Visa, MasterCard, and UnionPay so that you can withdraw cash from our local ATMs or make cashless transactions at thousands of local POS partners securely and with confidence. We are linked with more than 700 global banks through our direct SWIFT address, CBE Theta. We also work with 16 international money transfer agents, out of which Tune and WorldRemit enable you to make direct deposits into our savings and current accounts or our popular CBE Birr mobile wallet. Commercial Bank of Ethiopia, the bank you can always rely on.
Deputy Chief Executive of the Ethiopian Shipping and Logistics Service said that they have made a reform that has increased the logistics performance of the country. The Deputy Chief Executive stated that the uncoordinated approach of many stakeholders in the shipping service, ranging from financial provision to land transport, was a big challenge in the logistics service of Ethiopia. Talking to ETV's Investor Cafe program, Captain Wondosan said the logistics performance of Ethiopia has increased due to the reform that enables stakeholders to work in unison. Johannes Van Town has the rest of the story.
For businesses that were previously operating independently in the maritime transportation industry have merged to become Ethiopian Shipping and Logistics. This included Dryport Enterprise, Ethiopian Maritime and Transit Service Enterprise, Ethiopian Shipping Line Share Entity, and the previous Comet Transport Share Company. The primary objective of the Ethiopian Shipping Logistics is to offer coastal and international marine transport services to and from Djibouti port via the ports of the Gulf of Aden, the Indian subcontinent, China, Korea, Japan, Singapore, South Africa, and Indonesia. In and around the aforementioned ports, the shipping industry offers a continuous sea transportation service using both its own ships and through chartering agreements with larger international carriers. The 60-year-old Ethiopian Shipping and Logistics Service has been at the lowest level in the World Logistics Performance Index for many years, and it is currently undergoing major reforms to achieve a competitive logistics performance, according to the Deputy Chief Executive of the organization.
We have invested heavily on our dry ports. We have been procuring more trucks. At the moment, we have more than 576 trucks, and we have a plan to increase more. We are investing on our vessels because the vessel capacity is one of the most key part in the logistics, especially in the shipping. We have really strong relationship and partnership with our slot carriers, the big ones. We have been working with them for many years. We have the good relationship and trust. So we maintain that even if the adversity, even if the challenge is there, still we maintain to cooperate and work with them.
Although Ethiopia is a landlocked country, it is the owner of a shipping and logistics facility that is competitive with other African countries in the field of sea transport. Ethiopian Shipping and Logistics is taking great responsibility to ensure that the country's logistics supply and export operations are carried out in an appropriate manner, with the development of competitiveness gained through many years of work experience. Thus, it is providing reliable shipping services for domestic huge projects, international and local investors.
If you see our vessels, they are typically designed to load multi-purpose cargoes. Multi-purpose in the sense it can be containerized when the need arises. It can be a project cargo. Project cargo, it can be sugar factory. GERD, most of the project parties, we are the ones who transported it. And it used to be there is fertilizer factory as well. It's not completed, but Yara and other big projects in the country we used to transport. So that is a reason was we have been positioned ourselves and put such kind of vessels which are able to transport the Ethiopian project cargos. It can be a wind farm as well. If you mention most of the wind farms, we are the one who transported those cargos. Then, no, normally as a shipping company, you don't own all the vessels. That is capital intensive. It's difficult to do, and risk-wise also, we cannot put all the risks in one basket. So we charter other vessels. This is the practice of the shipping industry.
After the merge of the four institutions, one of the most successful practices is the multimodal operation, which is said to have achieved a significant change by integrating shipping, dry port and transportation services, and shortening the time of containers and goods at the port.
We used to have a long dwell time at Djibouti for containers to clear up. It can take sometimes a month and even more than that. Some containers are still idle there. But after we start to use multimodal operation, the idea is we have to integrate both the shipping side, the port clearance, and the inland transport. The destination can be dry port, it can be bonded warehouse, or it can be special project site. The cargo can be container, it can be ro-ro, or any kind of project site. Depends on the need of the customers. So we can handle all this in one centralized window. That is the most important part.
Ethiopian Shipping and Logistics is defined as an institution that is the backbone of Ethiopia's efforts to become an international investment destination and a reliable partner for investors.
Welcome to the land of origins. Commercial Bank of Ethiopia is pleased to serve all your traveler banking needs. If you have money from any of these 16 countries, you can convert it to local currency by visiting our nearest branch. Alternatively, our secure Forex ATMs accept cash exchange, or if you prefer using your cards, we've partnered with Visa, MasterCard, and UnionPay so that you can withdraw cash from our local ATMs or make cashless transactions at thousands of local POS partners securely and with confidence. We are linked with more than 700 global banks through our direct SWIFT address, CBE Theta. We also work with 16 international money transfer agents, out of which Tune and WorldRemit enable you to make direct deposits into our savings and current accounts or our popular CBE Birr mobile wallet. Commercial Bank of Ethiopia, the bank you can always rely on.
So for those of you who feel they need something to give strength to their relationship and love, this is also got into the Fish River Canyon. As you can see, we have a couple of love locks here on the chains that take you down the hiking path.
On this episode of Across All Borders Going South, it's all about the long road south. A trip to Fish River Canyon, Namibia. The world's second largest canyon. If you put in Google Map Windhoek to Hoboskamp, which is one of the lodges close to the Fish River Canyon, you will see immediately that it is about 644 kilometers, or if you started from Luderitz, it's 419 kilometers to the Hoboskamp. The Fish River Canyon is the second largest canyon in the world after the Grand Canyon. It commences at Seeheim at the lowest course of the river. The canyon is 161 kilometers long, 27 kilometers wide, and up to 550 meters deep. About the campsite or the Hoba's accommodation and campsite offers different types of stays. So you've got lodges, and they've even got a pool for the rooms, and you've got the campsite.
And finally, leaders from Sudan's 6 neighboring countries meet in Egypt's capital, Cairo, on Thursday for the most high-profile peace talks since conflict erupted across the northeastern African country in mid-April. The meeting, hosted by Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, was attended by leaders of Ethiopia, South Sudan, Chad, Eritrea, and the Central African Republic and Libya. Thursday's meeting comes weeks after talks involving the US and Saudi Arabia in the city of Jeddah broke out after both sides repeatedly failed to stop fighting and violated ceasefire agreements. Sudan has been rocked by violence since April, when tensions between the military and the paramilitary rapid support forces burst into open fighting. Over now to a quick reminder of the headlines. Ethiopia calls Sudanese rivals to declare immediate ceasefire to halt the fighting. Turkey ambassador says his country is committed to deepen ties with Ethiopia. Well, you have been watching ETV News. Thanks for your company and have a great time.